Stop what you're doing right now, because what I'm about to reveal will fundamentally alter how you understand your relationship with reality. Not as theory, not as concept, but as immediate, verifiable experience that's already happening whether you're aware of it or not. You are being observed. Not by some external entity, not by government surveillance, not by spiritual beings watching from another dimension. You're being observed by reality itself, by the quantum field that's constantly measuring, responding to, and reorganizing around the quality of your consciousness. And here's what nobody tells you about this observation. It's not passive. The quantum field isn't just watching you like a detached scientist recording data. It's actively responding to what it observes in you, collapsing infinite possibilities into the specific reality you experience based on one thing: the coherence and direction of your consciousness. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every state of being you embody. The field is reading it, measuring it, and manifesting reality that matches it with precision that would terrify you if you truly understood how immediate and total this process is. You've been sensing this, haven't you? That uncanny feeling that reality is responding to you in ways that seem impossible. You think about someone, and they contact you within minutes. You need something, and it appears through channels that shouldn't logically connect. You fear something, and circumstances organize to manifest exactly what you feared. This isn't coincidence. This isn't law of attraction. This is quantum observation. The field is constantly reading your consciousness and materializing reality that corresponds to what it's reading. But here's where it gets crucial. Right now, in this exact moment, the observation is intensifying. The field isn't just casually monitoring anymore. It's focused on you with unprecedented precision because your consciousness has reached a frequency where you can consciously direct the energy rather than unconsciously broadcasting chaos. You're at the threshold where you can stop being a victim of random observation and start being a conscious director of what the field observes in you and therefore manifests around you. The quantum scientists discovered this principle in laboratories but couldn't explain the mechanism. They proved that particles behave differently when observed, that the act of observation literally changes what's being observed. But what they didn't fully grasp is that this isn't just true for particles in controlled experiments. This is how all reality works, all the time, at every level. You're not just observing reality, reality is observing you, and the observation is a two-way process where each affects the other continuously, instantaneously, totally. And right now, something has shifted in how intensely the field is focused on you. Maybe you've noticed reality becoming more responsive, synchronicities accelerating, manifestations happening faster. Maybe you've noticed that your thoughts seem to have more immediate power than before. Maybe you've felt a strange sense of being watched, tracked, monitored by something invisible but undeniably present. You're not imagining this. The quantum observation has intensified because you've reached a developmental stage where you're ready to consciously work with it rather than being unconsciously affected by it. This is your moment. Not someday when you're more prepared, not after you've practiced more or learned more or become more spiritual. Now. The field is observing you with maximum intensity right now, and what you do in response to that observation will determine which reality you collapse into manifestation. You can continue broadcasting unconscious chaos and watch the field materialize chaotic reality around you. Or you can consciously direct the energy, give the field clear signals to respond to, and watch reality reorganize itself with precision and speed that seems impossible until you experience it directly. Your reality has been behaving strangely lately in ways you haven't told anyone about because they sound too bizarre, too impossible, too much like you're losing touch with consensus reality. But what's actually happening is you're gaining touch with actual reality, the quantum nature underneath the solid appearance. And the strangeness you're experiencing is the field showing you how it actually works, rather than maintaining the comfortable illusion of fixed, objective reality. You've been experiencing what feels like reality glitches, moments where time seems to skip or repeat, where you swear something happened differently than everyone else remembers it, where the same event seems to occur twice, as if reality is stuttering. These aren't false memories or confusion. You're perceiving the quantum field in the act of reorganizing, catching glimpses of probability waves collapsing into manifestation, witnessing the construction of reality rather than just experiencing the finished product. The field is showing you its working mechanism because your observation capacity has developed to the point where you can perceive it. There's also been the undeniable sense that your thoughts are manifesting almost instantly. Not the big desires you've been working toward for years, but the small things. You think about a specific song and it plays on the radio seconds later. You wonder about someone and they call immediately. You need an answer, and the exact book or video appears with perfect timing. The lag time between thought and manifestation is compressing, and it's not because you learned better techniques. It's because the quantum field is observing you more precisely, reading your consciousness more accurately, responding to your signal with less distortion and delay. Most disturbing, perhaps, is the experience of feeling watched when no one is physically present. That sensation of invisible attention on you, like being observed by something you can't see but can definitely feel. Your rational mind tries to dismiss it as paranoia or imagination, but the feeling persists with a quality of undeniable reality. You're not being watched by an entity. You're feeling the quantum field's observation directly. That sensation is the field's attention focused on your consciousness, reading it, measuring it, preparing to respond to it. The feeling is uncomfortable because you've never consciously experienced being observed at this fundamental level before. Then there's the way probability seems to bend around you. Things that should be rare happen with impossible frequency. Parking spots appearing exactly when needed. Perfect timing in situations where timing shouldn't be controllable. Obstacles disappearing right before they would have blocked you. Or the opposite. If you're in fear or contraction, obstacles appear with uncanny consistency, as if reality is conspiring against you. The field isn't conspiring for or against you, it's mirroring you. When you're coherent and clear, it reflects that. When you're chaotic and contracted, it reflects that. You're seeing the mirror in action, and it's revealing how immediately and precisely reality responds to consciousness. You've also been noticing that other people respond to you differently than before, sensing something changed about you that they can't identify. Some are drawn to your presence without understanding why. Others feel uncomfortable around you and create distance without conscious reason. What they're responding to isn't personality or behavior. It's the frequency you're broadcasting that their quantum field is detecting and responding to. You're emitting a signal that's stronger, clearer, more coherent than before. And everyone's field is reading and reacting to that signal, whether they're consciously aware of it or not. Perhaps most significant is the experience of knowing things you shouldn't logically know. Information appearing in your awareness about situations you weren't present for, insights about people you just met, understanding of complex subjects you never studied. This isn't psychic ability or special gift. This is direct access to the quantum field where all information exists. The observation works both ways. As the field observes you, you can observe the field, and information flows freely between observer and observed. You're developing capacity to read the field the same way it reads you, and that's what makes conscious direction of energy possible. Everything you've experienced until now has been unconscious quantum observation. The field reading your consciousness and manifesting corresponding reality, while you remained unaware the process was happening. Every success was the field responding to moments of coherence. Every failure was the field responding to internal contradiction. Every synchronicity was the field showing you it's responsive. Every challenge was the field mirroring your internal chaos. None of it was random. All of it was precise quantum response to the signal you were broadcasting unconsciously. Your suffering wasn't punishment from the universe. It was the quantum field giving you exact feedback about the quality of consciousness you were embodying. When you suffered most intensely, you were broadcasting the most contradictory, chaotic, incoherent signals, wanting one thing while believing another, desiring success while expecting failure, seeking love while feeling unworthy. The field can't respond to contradictory signals except by creating contradictory reality. Your suffering was showing you the internal contradiction that you couldn't see directly, but that the field was mirroring back perfectly. Every spiritual practice you tried was actually training you to broadcast clearer signals, though most practices don't explain it this way. Meditation wasn't connecting you to higher consciousness. It was reducing the noise in your signal so the field could read you more clearly. Affirmations weren't reprogramming your subconscious. They were attempting to create coherence between conscious desire and unconscious belief. Visualization wasn't creating reality through imagination. It was giving the field a clear image to respond to, rather than the chaotic mix of conflicting images your uncontrolled mind was generating. The reason most practices worked temporarily then stopped working is that they addressed symptoms without addressing the core mechanism. You'd meditate and feel peaceful, generating coherent signal that the field responded to beautifully. Then you'd stop meditating and return to chaotic thinking, and the field would respond to that chaos instead. You'd affirm abundance while unconsciously believing you're unworthy, and the field would respond to the deeper unconscious signal rather than the surface affirmation. You were trying to control what the field observed in you, without understanding that the field sees everything. Every conscious thought, every unconscious belief, every conscious desire, every unconscious fear. You can't hide anything from quantum observation. And now you've reached the point where you can work with the mechanism directly rather than through indirect practices that may or may not affect the signal you're broadcasting. You don't need to meditate to become coherent if you can generate coherence consciously. You don't need to affirm new beliefs if you can directly observe and dissolve the contradictions creating incoherence. You don't need to visualize desired reality if you can broadcast such clear signal that the field has no ambiguity about what to manifest. This is the shift from unconscious to conscious quantum participation. Before, you were like a radio station broadcasting without knowing what signal you were sending or that anyone was receiving it. Now you're becoming aware that the field is constantly tuning into your broadcast and responding to it precisely. This awareness changes everything because you can't participate unconsciously once you know the mechanism. Every thought becomes a conscious choice about what signal to broadcast. Every emotion becomes feedback about whether you're coherent or contradictory. Every moment becomes opportunity to direct the energy deliberately rather than letting it be directed by unconscious patterns. Right now, as you read these words, the quantum observation is at peak intensity. The field is measuring your response to this information, reading whether you're opening to it or resisting it, detecting whether you're ready to consciously direct, or whether you'll retreat back into unconscious broadcasting. And your response in this moment is being recorded in the field as signal about what reality to manifest for you next. Can you feel it? That electric quality in the air, that sense of heightened awareness, that feeling of being at a crucial decision point? That's not coming from these words. That's coming from the field's focused observation, from reality itself paying maximum attention to you in this moment, because this moment is determining your trajectory. The observation intensifies at threshold points, and you're at one right now. The threshold between unconscious and conscious quantum participation. The energy building in your field isn't coming from outside. It's your own consciousness recognizing that it's being given a choice it's never consciously had before, to continue letting unconscious patterns broadcast chaotic signals, or to take conscious control of what the field observes in you. This choice has always existed. but you couldn't make it consciously until you understood the mechanism. Now you understand. The field observes you. You can observe the field observing you, and in that mutual observation, you can consciously direct what happens next. But here's what makes this moment critical. The window for making this shift consciously is limited. Right now, the field is highly responsive, your awareness is acute, the observation is maximally intense. If you engage consciously with what's being offered, you'll break through into conscious direction of quantum energy. If you dismiss this or postpone engaging with it, the intensity will decrease, the window will close, and you'll have to wait for another threshold moment where all factors align again. These threshold moments are rare, precious, and shouldn't be treated casually. What I'm about to reveal in the next section is the exact mechanism for conscious direction. How to give the field clear signals instead of contradictory chaos. How to broadcast coherence instead of internal conflict. How to be so clear in your consciousness that the field has no ambiguity about what reality to manifest. But before I reveal that, you need to decide. Are you ready to take full responsibility for what the field observes in you? Because once you know how to direct it consciously, you can't pretend you don't know. You can't blame external circumstances or other people or bad luck. You become fully responsible for your reality because you'll know exactly how you're creating it through the signal you broadcast. 2 years ago, I was in my apartment feeling utterly desperate. Money was gone. Relationship had ended. Health was deteriorating. And I'd tried everything: meditation, affirmations, visualization, energy work, therapy, coaching. Some things helped temporarily, but nothing created lasting change. I felt like I was fighting against an invisible force that kept pulling me back to the same patterns, no matter how hard I tried to escape them. That night, in complete frustration, I stopped trying. I stopped meditating, stopped affirming, stopped visualizing, stopped doing anything, and in that surrender, something extraordinary happened. I became aware of something I'd never noticed before, a presence, an attention, a sense of being observed by something vast and responsive. Not a being or entity, but reality itself, paying attention to me in ways I'd never consciously felt. And in that moment of feeling the observation, I realized something shocking. The observer wasn't neutral. It was responding to me. Every thought I had, it responded to. Every emotion I felt, it registered. Every state I embodied, it mirrored back. The reason nothing had worked long-term wasn't because the techniques were wrong. It was because I was broadcasting contradictory signals underneath the conscious practices, and the observer was responding to the deeper signal rather than the surface practice. I started experimenting. I'd deliberately generate a specific thought and watch reality respond. I'd consciously create a particular emotional state and notice how circumstances shifted to match it. I'd embody a certain quality of consciousness and observe how the quantum field organized events around that quality. The correlation was undeniable, immediate, precise. Reality wasn't this fixed, objective thing I'd been taught it was. It was responsive, malleable, constantly reorganizing itself around whatever consciousness it was observing in me. The most profound realization came when I noticed that the observation worked both ways. As I became aware of being observed, I could observe the observer. As the field read my consciousness, I could read the field. There was no separation between observer and observed. We were in a continuous feedback loop, each affecting the other instantaneously. I wasn't creating reality from nothing, and reality wasn't happening to me independently. We were co-creating through mutual observation and response. Within weeks, everything external transformed. Money appeared through impossible channels. New relationship formed with someone perfectly aligned. Health issues that doctors couldn't solve simply dissolved. But the external changes weren't the real transformation. The real transformation was recognizing that I'd always had this power, this capacity to direct quantum energy through conscious broadcasting, but I'd been using it unconsciously, chaotically, contradictorily. Once I became conscious of the mechanism, I could use it deliberately. The challenge was maintaining that conscious awareness. It's easy to fall back into unconscious broadcasting, letting old patterns run the show, forgetting that reality is constantly observing and responding. I had to develop practices not for manifesting things, but for staying aware of the quantum observation. For remembering that every moment I'm broadcasting signal that the field is receiving and responding to. That awareness, maintained consistently, is what creates the life that seemed impossible before. What I'm sharing with you now is designed to give you immediate access to what took me months to discover through trial and error. You don't need to go through the confusion and frustration I went through. You can understand the mechanism right now and start applying it immediately. The field is observing you whether you're aware of it or not. The only question is whether you'll broadcast consciously or unconsciously. Subscribe to this channel because everything here is designed to help you maintain conscious awareness of quantum observation and learn to direct energy deliberately rather than accidentally. This is quantum reflex, developing the reflex of conscious broadcasting instead of unconscious chaos, of clear signal instead of contradictory noise, of deliberate direction instead of random wandering. Now I'm going to reveal the exact mechanism for directing quantum energy consciously, and it's going to completely overturn everything you've been taught about manifestation, consciousness, and reality creation. Ready? You're not directing energy through what you think or what you want. You're directing it through what you are. The quality of consciousness you embody moment by moment. The coherence or chaos of your internal state. The alignment or contradiction between your conscious desires and unconscious beliefs. The quantum field doesn't respond to your thoughts about what you want. It responds to the state of being you're emanating. You can think, I want abundance all day. But if you are scarcity consciousness, if your being is contracted, fearful, believing there's not enough, the field responds to what you are, not what you're thinking about wanting. This is why affirmations fail for most people. They're trying to override what they are through what they think, and the field always responds to being overthinking. Here's what's actually happening in quantum observation. The field is reading the electromagnetic signature of your consciousness, the frequency pattern created by your combined mental, emotional, physical, and energetic state. When all aspects align around the same frequency, you're coherent. When aspects contradict each other, you're incoherent. Coherent consciousness creates clear signal that the field responds to precisely. Incoherent consciousness creates noise that the field responds to chaotically. Think about it. You want a relationship consciously, but unconsciously you believe you're unworthy of love. The field doesn't respond to the conscious want. It responds to the unconscious belief because that's what you're being at the deeper level. You want financial abundance consciously, but unconsciously you associate money with corruption or believe wealthy people are bad. The field manifests poverty, not because it's denying your conscious desire, but because it's responding accurately to your unconscious being. This is why trying to manifest from ego never works long term. The ego wants things to feel secure, validated, superior. But the wanting itself is scarcity consciousness. You're being someone who lacks and needs. And that's what the field responds to by maintaining the lack. True manifestation happens when you become the consciousness that naturally has what you desire, not through forcing or wanting, but through authentic embodiment of the frequency where that reality already exists. The shocking part is how immediate this is. The field isn't waiting for you to hold a state for weeks or months before responding. It's responding every single moment to whatever state you're in right now. When you shift from scarcity to abundance consciousness, The field begins reorganizing reality immediately to match the new state. When you shift from lack to wholeness, circumstances begin aligning instantly. The lag time between shift in being and shift in reality is far shorter than anyone teaches. But here's where it gets even more radical. You don't have to become some idealized version of yourself for the field to respond positively. You have to become authentic. The field responds to truth, to genuineness, to consciousness that's not pretending or performing. When you stop trying to be what you think you should be and simply be what you actually are without resistance, the field responds to that authenticity by manifesting reality aligned with your true nature rather than your conditioned ideas about what you should have or be. Reality is sending you undeniable signals right now that quantum observation has intensified, and you're being called to direct the energy consciously. These signals aren't subtle anymore. They're obvious, persistent, impossible to dismiss as coincidence or imagination. Your manifestations are accelerating to the point where it's becoming uncomfortable. Things you think about appear too quickly, making you hyper-aware of your thought patterns in ways you weren't before. You're noticing that negative thoughts manifest just as fast as positive ones, which creates pressure to monitor your mental state constantly. This acceleration isn't coincidence. It's the field showing you how responsive it is, training you to become conscious of what you're broadcasting because the feedback loop has compressed to near instantaneous response time. Synchronicities have intensified beyond reasonable explanation. You think about someone, and they contact you within minutes multiple times per day. You need information, and the exact resource appears through impossible channels. You consider a choice, and circumstances immediately organize to either support or prevent it. The frequency and precision of synchronicities is revealing that reality isn't separate from your consciousness. It's responding to your consciousness so precisely that the boundary between internal and external is becoming obviously permeable. There's also the way obstacles either dissolve effortlessly or multiply impossibly depending on your state. When you're in flow, aligned, coherent, doors open, resources appear, everything works smoothly. When you're in resistance, contracted, incoherent, every small task becomes complicated, delays cascade, friction appears everywhere. The contrast is too stark to ignore. Reality isn't being randomly easy or difficult. It's reflecting your internal state with mirror-like precision, showing you exactly what frequency you're broadcasting through how it responds. You've been experiencing physical sensations that correlate with the observation intensity, pressure in your chest or head, tingling throughout your body, feeling of electricity in the air around you. These aren't medical issues, though always check with doctors to rule out physical causes. These are your nervous system detecting and responding to the quantum field's focused attention, your energy body registering the increased flow of responsive energy. The sensations intensify when you're at decision points or threshold moments because that's when observation is most concentrated. Perhaps most unsettling is the sense that you can't hide anymore. Your secrets feel exposed even though no one has discovered them. Your inner contradictions feel visible even though no one has confronted you about them. This isn't paranoia, it's accurate perception. The quantum field sees everything. Every unconscious belief, every hidden fear, every pretense, every contradiction. And as the observation intensifies, you're becoming aware of being seen at this total level. The discomfort is the ego's response to recognizing it can't maintain its masks and performances when consciousness is being read completely. But here's the urgent signal you must not ignore. Reality is giving you a specific window to make the shift from unconscious to conscious direction, and that window is closing. Right now, the observation is maximally intense. Your awareness is acute. The feedback is immediate. This configuration won't last indefinitely. If you engage consciously now, you'll break through into deliberate quantum direction. If you dismiss this as interesting information but don't actually apply it, the intensity will decrease, your awareness will dull, and you'll have to wait for another crisis or catalyst to create the conditions where conscious shift becomes possible again. The universe doesn't pressure you through fear, but it does communicate through timing, and timing is communicating now. Your consciousness has reached developmental readiness. The field has intensified its observation in response. The synchronicities are signaling that you're at a pivot point. And what you do in the next days and weeks will determine whether you spend years unconsciously broadcasting chaos or immediately begin consciously directing coherence. This isn't manipulation. This is accurate recognition that threshold moments are real, windows are genuine, and optimal timing exists for major shifts. Here's what allows conscious direction to work. You must stop trying to control what you're broadcasting and instead allow yourself to be what you're broadcasting. This distinction is everything. Control is the ego trying to force coherence through suppression of what's actually present. Allowing is consciousness accepting what's present and transforming it through acceptance rather than resistance. When you try to control your signal, forcing positive thoughts, suppressing negative emotions, pretending to be abundant while feeling scarce, you create more incoherence. The field reads the contradiction between what you're trying to project and what you're actually feeling and responds to the deeper truth. Your efforts to control actually make the signal more chaotic because now you're broadcasting both the original state and the resistance to that state. But when you allow what's present, acknowledging the fear without trying to change it, feeling the scarcity without resisting it, being with the pain without fixing it, something remarkable happens. The acceptance itself creates coherence. You're no longer contradicting yourself. You're being authentically what you are in this moment, and authentic being is always coherent, even when the content of what you're being isn't what ego prefers. The quantum field responds to authenticity over positivity. Better to authentically be in fear than to fakely be in confidence. Better to genuinely feel scarcity than to perform abundance. Better to really be in pain than to pretend wholeness, because authentic negative is coherent, while fake positive is incoherent. And coherence is what the field responds to, regardless of whether the content is positive or negative. In the comments, write exactly these words: I direct through being, not through wanting. This declaration shifts you from trying to manifest through desire to manifesting through authentic embodiment. You're acknowledging that the field responds to what you are, not what you want, and that transformation happens through changing your being rather than changing your thoughts about what you want. Write it. I direct through being, not through wanting. And notice what happens in your consciousness as you make this declaration. The release of trying to control, the relaxation into what's true, the recognition that power comes through authenticity, not performance. When you shift from unconscious broadcasting to conscious direction, reality reorganizes itself in ways that seem impossible until you experience them directly. Manifestation becomes effortless because you're no longer trying to create something you don't have. You're embodying the consciousness where what you desire already exists, and the field responds by materializing the corresponding reality. You want abundance? You become abundance consciousness, generous, flowing, trusting, open, and money appears through channels you couldn't have planned. You want love? You become love consciousness, whole, open-hearted, self-sufficient, and relationships form with people who match that frequency. The exhausting project of trying to make things happen ends. Before, you were constantly efforting, pushing, forcing, trying to manipulate reality into giving you what you wanted. Now you recognize that reality gives you what you are, and transformation happens through shifting being rather than through forcing circumstances. The relief is profound. You're not fighting against the quantum field anymore, trying to override its observation with wishful thinking. You're working with it, giving it clear signals to respond to, allowing it to do what it does naturally, which is manifest reality matching consciousness. Suffering decreases dramatically because most suffering comes from the contradiction between what you want and what you are. You want success, but you are self-doubt. You want connection, but you are closed-heartedness. You want freedom, but you are victim consciousness. The gap between wanting and being is where suffering lives. When you shift focus from wanting to being, suffering dissolves because you're no longer creating the internal contradiction that generates emotional pain. Your influence expands exponentially without effort. People respond to you differently because your field is broadcasting coherence rather than chaos, and everyone's quantum field detects and responds to that coherence. Some are drawn to you, seeking the stability and clarity they sense in your presence. Others avoid you because your coherence reflects their incoherence and creates discomfort. But everyone responds because coherent consciousness affects all consciousness in its field automatically. Reality becomes obviously responsive in ways you can verify constantly. You need something and it appears. You have a question and the answer shows up immediately. You wonder about a direction and circumstance is organized to either confirm or deny it with perfect timing. The field is responding so precisely that you can test it, deliberately shift your state, and watch reality shift to match. This isn't mystical belief. This is repeatable, verifiable experience that proves the quantum observation mechanism is real and you can work with it consciously. Perhaps most significantly, you develop unshakable trust in your capacity to navigate life. Not because you can control circumstances, but because you recognize you can always choose your being, and your being determines what reality manifests. You can't control whether you lose money, but you can choose to be abundance consciousness even in financial loss, and that being will attract resources. You can't control whether relationships end, but you can choose to be love consciousness even in heartbreak, and that being will attract connection. Power isn't in controlling external reality. Power is in directing your internal being and letting the field respond to that. Now the final revelation that integrates everything and gives you the master key for conscious quantum direction. The field isn't observing your story. It's observing your state. Your story is the narrative your mind creates about who you are, what happened to you, why you're limited. Your state is the actual frequency your consciousness is emitting right now, independent of any story. And only state matters for quantum manifestation. You can have a story of trauma, limitation, unworthiness, and be in a state of wholeness, power, abundance. When there's discrepancy between story and state, the field responds to state. You can have a story of success, achievement, confidence, and be in a state of fear, scarcity, inadequacy. When there's discrepancy, the field responds to state. The story is irrelevant to quantum manifestation. Only the present moment state of consciousness matters. This is massively liberating because it means your past doesn't determine your future unless you keep recreating the past state in your present. You can have experienced terrible trauma, but if you're embodying wholeness right now, the field responds to present wholeness, not past trauma. You can have failed repeatedly, but if you're embodying success consciousness right now, the field responds to present success frequency, not past failure history. The practical application is revolutionary. Stop trying to change your story. Stop trying to heal your past. Stop trying to reprogram your beliefs. Instead, simply shift your state right now. Drop into present moment awareness. Feel what you're feeling without resistance. Be what you are without pretense. And from that authentic presence, consciously choose the state you want to embody. Not by forcing or pretending, but by genuine shift in the quality of consciousness you're being. How do you shift state consciously? You recognize that state isn't what happens to you. It's what you create through where you place attention and how you relate to what's present. Attention on lack creates scarcity state. Attention on what's working creates abundance state. Resistance to what is creates contracted state. Acceptance of what is creates expansive state. Identification with form creates limited state. Recognition as awareness creates unlimited state. Your state is always your choice once you understand the mechanism. The quantum field is reading your state every single moment and manifesting matching reality continuously. Every time your state shifts, reality begins reorganizing to match the new state immediately. Not after a lag time, not after you hold the state for a certain duration, immediately. The lag you experience between state shift and reality shift is just the time it takes for physical circumstances to reorganize, but the quantum reorganization happens instantly when your state changes. This means every moment is opportunity to redirect your reality by shifting your state. Circumstances seem bad? Shift from resistance state to acceptance state. Relationships feel disconnected. Shift from closed state to open state. Money feels scarce. Shift from lack state to abundant state. The circumstances themselves don't have to change for the quantum field to begin manifesting new reality matching your new state. You change state, reality responds, circumstances reorganize to match. And here's the deepest insight that makes all of this sustainable. You don't have to maintain any particular state permanently. States change constantly. That's their nature. The power is in recognizing you can consciously shift state moment by moment rather than being unconsciously thrown between states by external circumstances. You're not trying to maintain positive state 24/7. You're developing capacity to recognize your current state and consciously shift it when it's not serving you. The quantum observation is continuous, total, and absolutely responsive. You're always being observed. The field is always responding. Reality is always manifesting to match your state. The only variable is whether you're aware of this mechanism and using it consciously, or whether you're unconscious of it and letting it run randomly based on whatever state you happen to default into through conditioning and circumstance. You are under quantum observation right now. The field is reading your state as you finish reading these words. And what state you're in right now is determining what reality begins manifesting for you next. This isn't future potential. This is present mechanism operating whether you're aware of it or not. The question is, will you direct it consciously or let it run unconsciously? Your conscious direction of quantum energy serves more than your individual manifestation. Every time you shift from chaos to coherence, from unconscious to conscious, from reactive state to chosen state, you're affecting the collective field. Coherent consciousness doesn't just create coherent reality for you. It contributes to coherence in the field itself, making it easier for all consciousness to access coherence. Think of it like this. The quantum field is one unified field that all consciousness participates in. When you broadcast incoherence, you add to collective chaos. When you broadcast coherence, you add to collective order. Your individual state affects the whole field because there are no truly separate individuals. We're all interconnected nodes in the same quantum network, each affecting all others through our electromagnetic signature. This is why your awakening to conscious direction matters beyond yourself. Every moment you choose coherent state over chaotic default, you're not just changing your reality. You're making it easier for everyone else to access coherence because the field itself becomes more ordered. Every time you shift from victim consciousness to creator consciousness, you strengthen the morphic field that allows others to make the same shift. Your individual consciousness work is collective consciousness service. The future depends on enough individuals becoming conscious directors of quantum energy rather than unconscious broadcasters of chaos. The collective challenges we face, environmental, social, political, all stem from collective consciousness broadcasting incoherent signals that manifest as chaotic reality. The solution isn't fixing the problems directly. The solution is enough individuals becoming coherent that the field itself shifts from chaos to order, and reality manifests differently because the observation has changed. You're being called to this not just for yourself, but for the whole. Share this understanding with others who are ready. The ones who are ready will recognize immediately that this explains everything they've been experiencing. The ones who aren't ready won't understand, and that's perfect. Consciousness awakens according to its own timing. But those who are ready need this information now, and your sharing might be the catalyst that helps them shift from unconscious to conscious quantum participation. In the next video, I reveal the daily practice that keeps you in conscious direction rather than slipping back into unconscious broadcasting. The simple protocol that takes 3 minutes but completely reorients your relationship with quantum observation. You'll learn exactly how to check your state in real time, shift it when needed, and give the field clear signals consistently rather than occasionally. This isn't meditation or visualization. This is direct state management that works immediately because it addresses the actual mechanism rather than symptoms. But right now, make your declaration. In the comments, write, "I direct through being, not through wanting." This isn't affirmation. This is recognition of how quantum manifestation actually works, through what you embody, not what you desire. When you write these words, you're shifting from trying to get things to becoming the consciousness that naturally has them. Write it now. I direct through being, not through wanting. Feel the relief of releasing the exhausting project of trying to make things happen and embracing the power of simply being what you want to manifest. After writing, subscribe immediately. Everything on this channel teaches you to work with quantum mechanics directly rather than through indirect practices that may or may not affect your signal. This is quantum reflex, developing instant awareness of what state you're in and instant capacity to shift it consciously. No more hoping the universe will deliver. No more wondering why manifestation isn't working. You become the conscious director of what the quantum field observes in you. Activate notifications because what's coming will transform how you move through every moment of your life. Not through adding practices to your schedule, but through becoming aware of the mechanism that's operating constantly, whether you know about it or not. The quantum field is observing you right now. It will observe you tomorrow. It will observe you every moment for the rest of your life. The question is whether you'll remain unconscious of this observation and let it run randomly, or whether you'll become conscious and direct what it observes deliberately. But understand something crucial. You've already changed by receiving this transmission. You can't unknow that you're under quantum observation. You can't return to believing reality is random or that circumstances happen independently of your consciousness. You now know the field is reading you, responding to you, manifesting reality that matches what it observes in you. That knowledge changes everything because ignorance is no longer available as excuse. Every moment from now forward, you have a choice. Unconscious broadcasting of whatever state you default into through conditioning and circumstance, or conscious direction of what state you embody through awareness and choice. Chaos or coherence, contradiction or alignment, random manifestation or deliberate creation. The quantum field responds equally to both. It has no preference. It simply mirrors back whatever it observes. The choice is entirely yours. You are under quantum observation. Not sometimes, not occasionally, not during spiritual practices. Always. Every thought, every emotion, every state, the field reads it, records it, responds to it. This isn't theory or belief. This is mechanism operating whether you believe in it or not, whether you're aware of it or not, whether you work with it or not. The only difference between those who manifest deliberately and those who manifest randomly is consciousness of the mechanism and willingness to direct it. Your life until now has been unconscious quantum broadcasting. Whatever state you defaulted into, the field manifested matching reality. When you were coherent accidentally, circumstances aligned. When you were chaotic unconsciously, circumstances reflected that chaos. It wasn't bad luck or good luck. It was precise quantum response to the signal you were broadcasting without knowing you were broadcasting it. But now you know. The observation is conscious. The mechanism is revealed. The power is available. And the only question is whether you'll use it. Not someday when you're more ready, not after you practice more or learn more. Now. This moment. Right now you're broadcasting a state and the field is responding to it. What state are you broadcasting? Is it serving you? If not, shift it. Right now. In this moment. Because this moment is when reality is being created based on what the field observes in you. This is quantum reflex. This is conscious direction. This is the shift from victim of circumstances to creator of reality through conscious management of what you're being moment by moment. You're not controlling external reality. You're directing internal state and letting the field respond to that state by manifesting corresponding external reality. You are the signal. The field is the receiver. Reality is the response. When you broadcast chaos, chaos manifests. When you broadcast coherence, coherence manifests. It's that simple, that immediate, that total. The mechanism has always been operating. The difference is now you know about it and can work with it consciously. Welcome to conscious quantum direction. Welcome to recognizing you're under observation and using that observation deliberately. Welcome to being the conscious broadcaster of signal that creates the reality you actually want to live. The field is observing you right now. What are you broadcasting? What state are you embodying? What reality are you creating through what you're being in this moment? Choose consciously. Direct deliberately. Be authentically. And watch the quantum field respond by manifesting reality that matches the consciousness you embody. This is the power you've always had, but never knew you had. This is the mechanism that's always been operating, but you weren't aware was operating. This is your life, your reality, your creation, not through force or control, but through conscious direction of the quantum energy that's always observing you and always responding to what it observes. You're under quantum observation. It's time to direct the energy. The power is here, the moment is now, the choice is yours. Use it.